Journey to Heaven. Journey to Heaven is adapted from the Pilgrim's Progress, an evergreen Christian classic book, written by John Bunyan in 1678. It is considered one of the most significant works of theological fiction, an allegory of the spiritual journey of a Christian believer from the city of destruction, earth, to the celestial city, heaven. Bunyan wrote this book as the similitude of a dream. John Bunyan, 1628 to 1688. As I walked through the wilderness of this world, I found a den, and laid me down in that place to sleep, and as I slept, I had a dream. I saw a man clothed in rags, standing in a certain place, with his face turned away from his own house, a book in his hand, and a heavy burden on his back. I saw that he opened the book and read, and as he read, he wept and trembled, and unable to bear it, he burst out with a pitiful cry, "What shall I do?" In this situation he went home and tried to hide his distress from his wife and children as long as he could, but he could not remain silent for long as his stress was on the rise. So he opened up to his wife and children and said, "Oh my dear wife and my sweet children, I am lost within myself because of the heavy burden on me. I am told with certainty that our city will be burned with fire from heaven, which will consume us all unless a way out is found so that we may be saved." His whole family was shocked, not that they believed what he told them, but because they thought that some madness had gone into his head. Therefore, as the night was approaching and hoping that sleep might settle his brain, they got him to bed hurriedly. But the night was as uncomfortable for him as the day had been, thus instead of sleeping he spent the night in sighs and tears. When the morning came, his family asked how he felt. He said to them, "Worse and worse." He tried to speak to them again, but they began to be hardened. They also thought to drive away his madness with rough and grumpy treatment. Sometimes they mocked, sometimes reviled, and sometimes they would quite neglect him. Thus he began to retire to his room to pray for and pity them, and also to grieve over his misery. He also walked alone in the fields, sometimes reading and sometimes praying, so some days passed like that. Then I saw that as he was walking in the fields and reading his book, he was so distressed that he burst out again, crying, "What shall I do to be saved?" Christian's Book, Holy Bible. I also noticed that he looked this way and that way as if he would run, yet he stood still, because he could not tell which way to go. Then I saw a man named Evangelist coming to him, who asked, "Why do you cry?" He answered, "Sir, I understand from this book in my hand, that I am condemned to die, and then to face the judgment. While I am neither willing to die, nor able to face the judgment." Evangelist: "Why not willing to die when this life is troubled with so many evils?" Christian: "Because I fear, that this burden upon my back will drag me lower than the grave, into the Tophet. I do not know how to escape these things, and that makes me cry." Evangelist guides Christian. Evangelist: "If this is your condition, why are you standing still?" Christian: "Because I do not know which way to go." Then the evangelist gave him a parchment roll, and there was written within, "Flee from the wrath to come." After reading the scroll, the Christian looked at the evangelist and asked very carefully, "Which way must I go?" The evangelist pointed with his finger over a very large field, "Do you see the small gate over there?" Christian replied, "No." Evangelist: Do you see a shining light not so far away? Christian, I think I do. Evangelist, keep that light in your eye and go straight to it. Then you will see the wicket gate, at which when you knock, you will be told what to do. So the Christian began to run. He had not run far from his door when his wife and children sensed him leaving and began to cry after him to return. But the Christian put his fingers in his ears and ran on, crying, "Life, life, eternal life." So he did not look back but fled toward the middle of the plain. As Christian ran, neighbors came out to see. Some mocked, others threatened, and some cried after him to return. Among those that did so were two neighbors determined to bring him back by force. The name of one was Stubborn and the name of the other was Yielding. The Christian is pursued by the stubborn and the yielding. Now by this time, the Christian was a good distance ahead of them, but they were determined to pursue him and, thus they overtook him in a little while. "Christian, neighbors, why have you come to me?" they said, "to persuade you to return with us." "Christian, that is not possible. You live in the city of destruction, where I was also born. If you continue to live in that city and die there, sooner or later, you will sink lower than the grave, into a place that burns with fire and brimstone. Be wise, good neighbors, and come with me." "Stubborn, what? And leave our friends and comforts behind us?" "Christian, yes, because everything you adhere to, and should leave, is not worthy to be compared with a little of what I am looking forward to enjoying. The friends and pleasures of which you speak cannot compare with the joys which I seek. If you come with me and persevere, you shall gain as I, for where I go, there is enough to spare. So come with me and see that I am telling the truth. Stubborn, what things do you seek, since you are leaving the whole world to find them? Christian, I seek an inheritance that is unblemished and does not fade away. It is preserved in heaven and given at the appointed time, to those who seek it wholeheartedly. You can read about it in my book. Stubborn, away with your book. Will you come with us or not? Christian, no, never. Because I have put my hand on the plow. Stubborn, come then, neighbor Yielding, let us return home without him. He is a crazy-headed fellow with a blind passion and wise in his own eyes. Yielding, perhaps you are right, but don't be so hard. If what good Christian says is true, the things he seeks after are better than ours, my heart is inclined to go with him. Stubborn, what? Are there more fools than one? Pay heed to my advice and come with me. Who knows where such a mentally disturbed fellow will lead you? I insist, be wise and come back with me. Christian, come with me, neighbor Yielding, there are glories and joys to be, which we cannot imagine. If you doubt me, then read here in my book, for definitely, the truth of what is said in these pages is fully confirmed by the blood of he who wrote it. You can read about it in my book. Stubborn, Yielding and Christian. Yielding, well, neighbor Stubborn, I have decided to go along with this good man. My dear Christian, do you know the way to this wonderful place? Christian, I was guided by a man named Evangelist to make haste to the small wicket gate that is before us, where we will receive further instructions about the path ahead. Yielding, come then, my good neighbor. Let us be on our way. So they both continued together. Stubborn, and I will return to my own place. I will not accompany such deluded, misguided fellows. The Yielding comes with the Christian while the Stubborn returns to his home. Then I, Bunyan, saw in my dream that when Stubborn had turned back, Christian and Yielding started talking as they went ahead over the plain, and thus they entered into earnest conversation. Christian, now tell me, neighbor Yielding, how you are getting along. I am glad you joined me. Had Stubborn sensed the powers and terrors that are yet unseen, he would not have so lightly turned his back upon us. Yielding, good neighbor Christian. Since there are only the two of us here, do tell me more about the things that are ahead, what they are like, how they will be enjoyed, and where we are going. Christian, I can better appreciate them with my mind, than to speak of them with my mouth, but since you are eager to know, I will read of them in my book. Yielding, and do you believe that the words of your book are certainly true? Christian, yes. Definitely so, for it was written by he who cannot possibly lie. Yielding, well said, tell me about these things. Christian, there is an eternal kingdom and eternal life, so we will live in that kingdom forever.